What is musical? That's what I've been thinking about today. Different things in the course of this week have been making me contemplate what is musical. It's not like my first time I've ever thought about what is musical. What is musical? What is light? What is musical? We think this person's musical, that person's musical, that person's technical. That person's really into technique. That person has it all, musical and technique. But what is musical? Where does music come from? How about the thought that different people or inside of different people, the music originates at a different place. It's very clear. Some people are very more mentally based, and their musicianship can be very, very planned, very, very graphic, very architect-like. Geometrical. And that's not easy. That takes a lot of control to play musical in that way and in any way. Let's say someone's really emotionally based. They'll play their music from their emotions. And some people have a good relationship between the mental part of themselves and their emotional part. And they have a certain kind of relationship, and things come together in a certain kind of way for that kind of person. Sometimes people's musicianship changes according to their life circumstance. Certain things will bring out things in a person, and they'll open up a part of their human acoustic. So what is it to be musical? I love talking about the obvious, what would seem to be obvious. Because it's really not. If we think that everything is too obvious sometimes, not in all cases, but sometimes, then we start to just form generalisms. And basically, they're located in our likes and dislikes. I've tasted terrific food before and haven't liked it. Yet I could appreciate, yes, this is very good, great fresh ingredients. The cook really knew what they were doing and how to put everything together so well. But I did not like it. And I've heard people play like that too. Wow, terrific. And there was something in it that didn't catch me. That doesn't make me right. It's not a matter of right and wrong. It's a matter of that's what is, or maybe I couldn't hear it yet. Maybe I just couldn't hear what was actually going on yet. Or where they were coming from, I couldn't relate to. You ever hear the mockingbird? They're located in different parts of the country. And I can always tell a mockingbird because it starts to rattle off everything that it knows. Everything that it knows, it starts rattling off. It sounds like this bird. It sounds like that bird. So when you first hear it, you go, oh, that's a thrush of some kind. Then you realize it sounds a little bit almost kind of forced. And you realize, oh, it's a mockingbird being a thrush. We're making all sorts of kinds of noises that aren't even birds. It's amazing what they can do. And of course, there's several kinds of birds that can do that. But it doesn't sound like the actual bird where that sound truly originates from. So for a while, we can maybe be mockingbirds trying to sound like our teacher or a recording. After a while, it's important to not do that. Not listen to so much of someone else playing first and then you play it. In actual fact. Because it'll rob you of your process in a way. Of what you need to do to discover a piece, for example. So what is musical? Musical seems to be an expression of communicating the music in a way that has meaning, character, purpose, or is a collection of very fine control of crescendos and decrescendos, and how to put a little vibrato here and how to move a little way out of it. Very learned. And I think it's a combination of you pick up things from other people, so you're learning that. And sometimes we gravitate to the musicians that we feel actually more prone to in the way of making music ourselves like that. So what is musical? What's that magic thing where someone says, that person's a special musician? What makes their playing so touching? So moving? That it literally moves us in different parts of ourselves. Different kinds of responses or senses or thoughts come to us in the midst of that kind of thing. If all of our music making is based in a formula, how to phrase, very big in classical music. Where's the phrase go? Well, there was a lot of musicians I learned from who I thought were just, I never thought of their phrasing really, but I just heard great music and it had a movement and a direction. And when realizing that so much of music, obviously that M, one of the things it has to stand for is movement, momentum. And I thought, what about nature? Look at the way a tree moves. A willow tree versus an oak or versus an evergreen. In different seasons, they'll move in different ways, in different kinds of winds, and different kinds of storms. Look at cotton. Look at the dandelions. The little seeds go up with that little cotton thing on it and it floats away. The nature of that float, different feathers, how they would fall. And of course, clouds, in waves. There you can learn a lot about phrasing. And what about people? What about the way people talk? Oh man, you can learn a lot about phrasing. Dancers, movement, phrasing, direction. The phrase is the architecture of the direction, of the movement, of the particular essence in a piece. But if we're concerned about being a good phraser, what is that based on? Some academic formula? Unless you know how to use that, it's gonna, no matter how much someone has control to actually do that, something's gonna sound missing. Something's gonna sound empty. Can you hear a particular person and feel where a lot of generally their music comes from? Some people can tell it's very thought out. They know exactly what they're doing and where they're going. So there's a sense of clear-cut direction in it. Some people, you can feel they come from that certain desperateness in their life. Some people, a certain calling in their life, a certain longing. Some people might be coming from certain kinds of pain. Some from inspiration. And so, what is musical? Well, there's many different kinds. Many different kinds. I loved Timofey Dokshucher's trumpet playing. I loved it. Then I talked to a couple of my colleagues in the Boston Symphony one time, and they got almost sickened that I liked his playing. So my grandmother said to me, look, never talk about politics or religion to people. And I was thinking after that conversation, this is like 35, 36 years ago, I thought, I'm not going to talk to people about music. Because you never know what's going to come out of you that you love that someone could trash. And I thought, right. I'm sorry they didn't like the vibrato. Did they hear anything else? Even at the level of the instrumentalists themselves? Let alone the other stuff inside of his great architectural phrasing. So there's taught phrasing, and there's the untaught. And phrasing just is not being musical. You can say it's very nice placement. There's some people who like to place things just in their right spot. Okay, fine. That can be very satisfying to some people. And that's not easy to do. You have to be very aware of what you're doing. You have to be aware of what you can and cannot do, which is very important art of the whole process, isn't it, of music making, because it's a duet between what you want to do with the music and what you actually can do. Which I find interesting. So sometimes I might have this idea, I got to do it like this, and I can't. So that'll then take me a journey into finding the technique necessary. For some reason, if I can't get all the technique or control necessary to be able to produce it in the way that I hear it, I think, what's another angle? Is it saying to me I need to find another angle of how to express this piece and still keep the basic sentiment. And here's an important point about music making. For all the teachers out there, if you have a student who can't do it the way you want, can you help them find another way? Yes, another way. If you take a rock or a diamond and look at it, you can look at it head on, you can look at it underneath, you can look at it from another viewpoint, and it changes. Take a coin and look at it. I thought I had one here. Okay, here's a penny. If I look at it like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, it's a penny. But that different angle changes it. Yet maybe I could still play the music of a penny. What is musical? What is musical? Guess what? It's your connection to the music that has an authenticity based in your own process and relationship with that piece. And how you play it at a certain age might not be how you play it 20 years after that, or even just 5 years after that. I used to play bolero when I was very young. Okay? Maybe I was playing it at 14. By the time I played it with the Boston Pops for the first time, I was 19. In subsequent years, I kept playing it. The last time I played it, I think was maybe in 1999 or 98. Quite a while ago. But the point is that was very totally different than I played it when I was 19. So our music making will change. Music, if it's alive, will change because the person who's producing it or having it come through them goes through life changes. And one of the things about music, even on the level of technique, what it takes to make music, I presented this to the trombone class at NEC. I said, how many of you actually play with your sound? Like someone would play with silly putty, and I like playing with silly putty sometimes. Stretch it this way. Can you stretch it really slow? What are the different properties of it? Or those of you used to play with dolls or pots and pans or dump trucks and sand or mud, clay. Sometimes when kids get so into it, they try to find out all the different things that particular toy or substance can do. Do we do that with our tones, with our intonation, with our legatos, with our accents, with our staccatos? Do we find all the different properties and all the different kinds and the spectrum of possibilities within each one? What is musical? I ask, and will always ask.